Okay, we've been kind of all over the board. Why don't we, Steve wanted to kind of cover really quick a thing called My Cart Favorite Buttons. You saw how we were able to just search for something. We can add it in, we can search it, we can go to the item, we can barcode it, we can do a bunch of things. I'm going to turn some time over to Steve and let him kind of explain a thing called My Cart Favorites. If you need to, you can stand up for a second. He's going to be kind of just demonstrating, and we'll let him go. You've got tons of items in here, Steve. You have drums, you have stuffed animals, you have snacks, you have flutes, you have even like barcode scanners and receipt printers. We've got a bunch of items in here.
Okay, so I'm just going to go back to the home and kind of get a little orientation here. And I guess two things that's important about My Cart Favorites is, first of all, it looks like we might need to turn on a permission here because it's typically under System Basics here. So I'm just going to go over here to Permissions, and we'll click on, under your name, Brandon, is that what you're on?
Yeah.
So you guys may want to follow along. Are they able to
Yep.
add their permissions? Okay. And it's in the second section.
System Basics.
System Basics, My Cart Favorites. It's a green permission. One of the quick notes I was going to tell you about My Cart Favorites is below it there's a silver permission. And silver permissions either expand what you're doing or limit what that person's doing. So it's real special. The silver permission in this case, if that were clicked under your username, you would not be able to create buttons, but you would be able to use others' buttons. Or, even more importantly, is if there is only one person that sets up the buttons for a company and everybody else has the silver permission, then as soon as they click on My Cart Favorites, it defaults to the corp settings or the corp-wide settings for that. Kind of a way to have only one individual in a company set up buttons and then limit everybody else so they can only use those buttons that are set up. A lot of corporations that want to control costs and pricing, they do that. So that's kind of just as an FYI.
Kind of like a master list, okay? So the admin person logs in and says, I'll set them up, and then I'm going to give everybody else just the view-only permissions, and all of a sudden what you did is you just created a master list, and everybody else is going to be using those buttons instead of having them have their own buttons.
So then we'll just go down to the bottom of the page and edit the payee. So now when I go back to the home page again, you can see on here I have My Cart Favorites. Once that is in place, there's a couple different ways that you can add favorites. So if I click on My Cart Favorites right now, you see I have no others. I do have a link here that says View or Copy Others. So if I click on that, so no one here yet has any favorites set up. And we're all, if you guys didn't select the silver permission, you guys can all set up your own favorites, which I would advise that. So I'm just going to go back to My Cart Favorites. We don't have any here. You can either search or add a new favorite. What I like to do is I like to just go up here under part numbers, and I'm just going to type in all because I want to see the whole list of what I might want to add as my favorites. Once that pulls up, I have all 42 results here. So let's just go, let's say I want to add some pig feed down here as one of my favorites. I can go over here to full, and right up here on the top is add this to My Cart Favorites. So this is one way, so I'm going to click on that. It's going to bring up these little form that's going to basically walk you through setting up this button. This gets pretty deep. You can go and read the help file to get a lot more information, but I wanted to show you how to set up the simple button for that. So it's defaulted to the simple button. You get to name your button, so no matter what somebody before you has named that, you could name whatever you want. So I'm just going to delete the second line. I'm just going to leave pig feed in there. You don't have to use both of these, but you can. Each line will hold 15 characters. So you can trick out your button. As you build the button, you'll kind of see where that shows up. We don't have any categories set up yet. You can categorize your buttons. We'll just leave them in a general category. And I want it to display as a top level or standalone button, which is currently because we don't have any other categories set up. That's currently what it's going to display as. Button color, I'm going to choose orange for pig feed. If I wanted to, I could put an additional barcode in here, and then I could actually control price off of another barcode or off of the same barcode, and that gets kind of a little deep too, because these buttons can be assigned to customer types as well. So the shopping cart is very intuitive. If you had different customer types, say I had ranchers and I had farmers, and for the ranchers I was going to give them a special price on pig feed, but the farmers, they just got the normal price. I could actually set this up and use the same barcode, and it would look at the shopping cart and see that it's a farmer, and then go off of what I have the farmer price set up as. I mean, that's getting really deep, but in a nutshell, you can use the same barcode that's on the package, so you don't have to reassign another barcode for a price. And in the background, you can set the price based on this button. So I'm going to leave that barcode blank. You have a public or privacy setting. I want all of you to be able to use my pig feed button if you want to. Sort order is where you want that button to display on the screen. So think about like a restaurant POS system. They have all the little buttons. If you want to move pig feed from the lower right-hand corner up to the top left, you can move it by that sort button. The default is 100. When we first did default, we put it at 0, and we had a lot of clients like, oh great, now I got to go to every item and increase the value. So we decided to go to 100. So if you decrease the value, it's going to move it left and up. If you increase the value, it's going to move it to the right or down, if that makes sense. You can play around with the sort action. Pick your action task is the next one. What I'm going to do is I just want to add one to the shopping cart. I'm just going to make a real simple button. So you can see option number 2 is already selected, and it says use this exact part number, and it's already defaulted to add it to the open cart. Again, these buttons get really deep. You can set up some really interesting trick buttons. I've seen some of our clients do some amazing things with these buttons.
Buy one, get ones,
discounts,
pricing, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, and I'm just going to add my favorite. So in theory, if I did this right, there's my pig feed button. Okay, so if I were to go and we just run back to the home page, start a new cart, and I can click on my favorites, got my pig feed. Now I can click on my pig feed. It just added my pig feed to the cart. So if you're invoicing, say for instance that you're doing invoices and you are always adding like an activation fee or something of that nature, and it's always a set price, you can just put your button in there. You don't even have to go search it. You don't have to use barcoding. You can just use your button, click on your button and add it. Now all of you that are following along should be able to go to my cart favorites, and if you want, I'll go to my cart favorites here as well. You're going to have a link here that says view, copy, other, public. If you want, you can go see the ones that are displayed, and you can say, hey, I want to be able to use Steve's pig feed button. Or you can obviously go and create your own buttons. So what we did was we searched for all up here under parts. I just typed in all and went and said go, and I found which item I wanted. The other way that you can do it is you can do search and add here, and again you would type in all or a little bit of the name that you have, search, and the only difference here is it brings up still the same 42 items that we have in the system, but the difference is over here on the side the link goes right to add to favorites instead of having to go to full and then add to favorites. So I'm going to pick another one here. I'm going to come down and let's see here. I'm going to do this travel. So I'm going to add travel favorites. We don't have any photos, I think, in here, but I'm still going to do a photo button just to kind of show you what this will do. And I'm just going to say, I'm just going to call it travel. And this time I am going to choose purple as my color. And this time I'm going to get a little bit more tricky. I'm going to add it to the advanced add to cart. Okay? So advanced add to cart is going to take me to the advanced add to cart where I'll be able to say travel, I want to charge like 2 hours for travel or whatever. So then I'm going to add my favorite. And then the next, if you choose a photo button, it shows you what your current photo is. And if you had other photos in here for travel, they would display down here and you can pick one of those. Okay, so now if I go back to my cart favorites, you're going to see I have a simple button that's pig feed, and I have travel. Now, being that I still have my shopping cart open, you can see I have one item in the shopping cart up here. I'm going to click on travel, and here's where I can say 2, price per 100, add to cart. So there's my 2 hours for travel. So if you're doing a lot of services, say, or not a lot, say it's a limited amount of services, 30 or 40 services, you probably want to add my favorites in there, and then you can categorize those services so that you can, instead of using the barcode or searching for the item, which you could search, I could search right here and find travel or pig feed, as you guys learned earlier. Now I have them under my favorites, so I can simply have a click of a button to add, either add one to the cart right away or take you to the advanced. And I think that's probably about the extent that we want to cover on my cart favorites. Again, those buttons get really, really super deep.
There's some good help files on that.
Yeah, there's a lot of different things that you can do with buttons.
You're basically just speeding up the process. So instead of searching and adding, you're like, I do this all the time. Let's pre-code this thing. Like, basically saves you steps.
And I see that Roxanne has already created one, and so has Debbie. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, hey, I want to use hers as mine. So I got Herman. Is that like
It's a stuffed animal.
horse the horse?
It's a
No,
stuffed
it
animal.
says horsey. It cut it off.
Well, you might want to just adjust that a little bit. I'm going to use and she has pig feed. So use as my own means that that's the current assignment. If I want to use Brandon's as my own, well, another thing I can do is I can go and copy. So if I click on View Debbie's, I can say copy, and this is going to add her pig feed. I can change it up a little bit. So I'll just take what she currently has and add it. Now I have 3 buttons. I just went and stole the button from Debbie, so to speak, or copied it from Debbie, and then I now have this button. If I want to change anything on these buttons, up here is a switch to edit mode, so I can click on that, and this little double arrow here takes you actually into where you can edit this form again. So maybe I just want to change this to large, or whatever you might want to do if you want to change your name. That's where you can go edit the name that you have there,
Where
Roxanne.
did you go do that?
Go up to switch this page to edit mode.
Okay, there's also a way, up at the top, there's a thing that says bulk sort my cart favorites. That's a great way to get into the edit mode as well. It's a link up at the top middle. Click on that for just a second, bulk sort. Now scroll down, there's edit links on either side.
You can go edit
it.
here.
Yeah.
The one thing that I do like about this other one is if you have a lot of photos, this IMG image, it'll let you choose a new image for this. The default obviously is our logo, but if you had other images loaded in there. And the images are kind of nice because some people, instead of just reading, they might look, oh, hey, there's an airplane. That's my logo for travel or whatever, and then you can just click on that. If you also want to get rid of something, you can go to bulk sort my favorites and say, for instance, now I don't want to use my pig feed, I want to use Debbie's. I can come over here, I could make it inactive, or I could just delete it, which doesn't delete. If it were Debbie's, it wouldn't delete hers, but it's going to delete mine. So now it just killed mine. Then if I go back to my cart favorites,
I don't think you actually submitted that.
I did. So let's see, bulk sort my favorites. Go down to the one that I did, go to delete, and do the bulk update. Which, by the way, this bulk update too, if you have clients who have a numerous amounts of items in here and they have pricing on those items, they can go there and they can change all the pricing on the items. So I don't think you have the permission turned on for pricing on this. But anyway, that's how you would update those. And if you are selling an item for a while and you run out of the item, you can come in here and you could just make it inactive and update. And then now I only have one button on my screen, and then I could go back and I can turn it back on again.
Well, how would I change that button? It's not, I mean, it's all in there. I guess I don't know where to change it.
Go to switch this page to edit mode.
Oh, I got it.
and then click on the little double, and then right in here is where you need to just touch up what the name of your button is.
Oh, because it won't even, it's too many characters.
Yeah, there's only 15 allowed per those two fields. And just so you know, those two fields, they just display across the button because it has to do with how the size that the button allows for verbiage on that button.
Okay.
Another thing about buttons, you notice on this travel it says unlimited. Can anybody tell me why that's there?
Check an inventory.
Yeah, exactly. If that were drums, it might say 15. And right away, every time you hit your My Favorites, oh, I still have 15 drums. This guy wants 5, I'm good. So it's every time you hit the buttons, it's going and looking at inventory and bringing back what it shows current quantity is in inventory. So that's another really neat little feature of that. And those quantities show through no matter what type of buttons you build because, like I said, there's a lot of different button types that you can build, grids and things like that. And that's probably even a focus for another class to get into the buttons.
The buttons
it gets deep.
are a way you can trick it out. You can tie it to recipes. You can tie it to advanced grids where you're adding multiple different pieces, or some yes and some no's. You can do all kinds. You can have tiered pricing where you're like, say you're selling candy bars, and I've got Snickers and M&Ms and hot tamales and all this kind of stuff like this. If you buy 1, I'm going to sell it full retail. If you buy up to 10, then I'm going to sell it at this price. If you buy up to 20, I'm going to sell it at this price. Like you can stack pricing. And basically, it starts getting smart. So if all of a sudden you enter 50 of the M&Ms or whatever like that, it's like, oh, we're starting to use some tiered pricing structure. So it can really play a lot that way.